What's up, everybody? Welcome to this edition of Entertaining Diversion Reacts. I'm Beasley, and we've done these videos before, but I've decided to reintroduce the format. We did it for the Nintendo Switch and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild back in March, but I feel that anytime there's a major sort of gaming announcement or anything else, we might do a little video like this, just to go through what the actual facts are of the announcement and what an opinion is. It may be me, it may be other members of Entertaining Diversion, but today it's me. So today we're going to talk about the fact that Nintendo and Game Freak and the Pokemon Company did a Pokemon Direct, 11:30 PM Australian Central Standard Time last night. And so here's the facts. So first off the bat, we're going to talk about Pokken Tournament's re-release for the Nintendo Switch, which is Pokken Tournament DX. So this will be utilising a lot of the Switch features such as local wireless multiplayer and the use of two single Joy-Cons with one console to do multiplayer. It's also going to introduce a new feature of 3v3 team matches, as well as some online ranked play and friend-only group matches. So that's some of the features that will be different to the Wii U iteration of this game. Also, they'll be introducing 5 new playable Pokemon. So that will include Darkrai, Scizor, Empoleon, Croagunk, and from Pokemon Sun and Moon, Decidueye, which is the grass owl Pokemon. So that will be coming out on September the 22nd of this year. So that's basically all they showed us, a trailer and some gameplay. After that, they also announced 3DS exclusive follow-up to Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. This will be called Pokemon Ultra Sun and Pokemon Ultra Moon. So it's set in the same world as those two original games. It will be an alternative story in that same world. So there will be some new Pokemon that weren't featured in the original game, which will be discussed at a later stage. And there's also been some leaked new versions of Solgaleo and Lunala that look like they're being melded with the new other legendary Pokemon, Necrozma. Apologies if these names aren't being said right. So that's being released on November the 17th of this year. So keep your eyes out for that. And then finally, they also announced for the 3DS Virtual Console, the original Pokemon Gold and Pokemon Silver. These will be compatible with Pokemon Bank. Now, just to make this clear, it's not Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It is the original game that was released in the year 2000. So for the Game Boy Color. And so that will be coming out on the same day as Pokken Tournament DX on the 22nd of September. So that's basically the facts. They showed some trailers and that as well, but now it's time for me to give you my opinion on what I thought of the Direct overall. So once again, I'll go through the same order. So firstly, let's start with Pokken Tournament DX. I wasn't a huge fan of the Wii U version of it. I graphically very nice looking game. I felt that some of the fight controls and the way it played, the dynamic wasn't great. I think it had a few missteps. It also seems a very strange choice, from my opinion, for Nintendo or Pokemon Company to release a game that's not necessarily what was on the top of the list for most people. I mean, Pokken Tournament on Wii U got somewhat reasonable scores from some of the reviewers and that, but I guess it wasn't at the top of that list for most people. I think that they've got an opportunity to improve upon it. I don't want it to be just, oh, we've added 5 new Pokemon to it and that's it. I hope that they encourage maybe some DLC or some free characters up the track just to keep building that roster. Otherwise, I feel it might become stale very easily. I guess time will tell with how it's received by the public. I mean, the original Pokemon Tournament on Wii U sold over 1 million copies as of August 2016, so it sold quite well. It was almost, to me, like I've always wanted a game that specifically, it was a battle-style game, a bit like Pokemon Stadium, but where you could control them instead of it being a turn-based scenario. Pokken Tournament came close. I'm not saying it's an awful game, but it wasn't quite what I wanted. So that's sort of my opinion. So hopefully it'll be good. At any stage, it's good to have another Switch game on the lineup, given that there's not a lot in the library at the moment. So that's positive. So I guess with more announcements and leading into the September 22nd release date, it should be interesting to see what happens. It's good that they've used some of the Switch features. Single Joy-Con means it is available for other people to play. It's a weird decision because when they released Pokken Tournament, they really were like, okay, this game has to be a 2-screen scenario, and hence the reason why it worked so well on the Wii U. But it's almost this backtrack now of, here's 2 controllers, we start playing, on one screen. So it's interesting they've changed their mindset on that. Maybe they've realised that was a mistake for the Wii U, but I guess that's, once again, time will tell. So the next thing, and this is probably the most, I won't say disappointing thing, but it did, as a whole, I guess, coming out of the Direct, it was that moment of, they didn't quite nail it for me overall. Pokemon Ultra Sun, Pokemon Ultra Moon seems like a strange decision. They did, after the Direct, up on their website, put up Switch, and I think it was like to be announced, and that's being reported across many news sites. But it's since been released by Nintendo that was a mistake. They're calling it a clerical error, and that there is no intentions of putting Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon on the Switch, and it is strictly a 3DS exclusive. That's probably the most disappointing thing, considering that the Nintendo Switch is being promoted as a hybrid console. It's a console that is predominantly, in their mindset, still a home console, but it's also portable. And that's been their biggest sales pitch for that console, and that's why it seems to be doing quite well as a hardware piece to sell. So it seems a strange choice with something as big as Pokemon to not even go, all right, we're going to put it on the 3DS, we're also going to do a Switch version. I think that it could have been a real console seller, and filled in some of the gaps they've got in their current release schedule, say till the end of the year. So I guess for me it's not a new title, in the mindset of it's a continuation or an alternative view of Pokemon Sun and Moon. It's set in the same world. I guess from Nintendo's standpoint, it's smart business, because as of the end of last year, there were over 65 million 3DS consoles out in the wild. So I guess from that perspective, it's smart business for them. They're not shutting off their 3DS customers. And Sun and Moon did, I believe it was something like 15 million copies as of March. And so it's only just behind Pokemon X and Y. So it's like the second best-selling iteration of the Pokemon franchise. So it's smart. I don't know, and I didn't have a chance to look up. It's a very similar scenario to the Black and White and then Black and White 2 scenario. So I don't know if Black and White 2 did as well. Those two games did as well as the original two. So it'd be interesting to see what the comparison is there with those numbers at some stage. But I guess it sounds good. I don't know whether I'll get it on release. I feel that it may be a misstep. In saying that, it's also a very strange choice for Nintendo to have a Pokemon Direct mere days before the start of E3. But I guess they may have something planned for E3, and they just wanted to get this out the way. So we'll see with that. And I guess the other really exciting thing is that Pokemon Gold and Silver coming to the virtual consoles, really good. I love those games. I'm disappointed that Crystal version's not being included in that scenario. Maybe it'll come out at a later date, because that's still by far my favourite version of or generation of Pokemon. It's good that it's compatible with Pokemon Bank. No surprises there, though. It would be strange if it wasn't. There has been some comments that I've seen online that, it's disappointing that it's not Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I guess it's the same mindset when they released Red, Blue, and Yellow on the Virtual Console. it wasn't, you know, Fire Red and Leaf Green or whatever. But they're classic games, and that's one thing I like about the Pokemon games, that you can go back and play them now. They don't feel overly dated. Yes, they're not as brightly coloured or whatever else, but they don't feel overly dated, so it's good. So overall, interesting Direct. It wasn't quite what I expected. I did initially walk out of that from watching it and go, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that passionate about it. I usually am. I'm one of the bigger Nintendo fans out of my group of friends. We all love Nintendo, don't get me wrong, but and Pokemon by far. You know, Pokemon's just one of my most favourite franchises out there, but yeah, it just didn't give me that inspiration. It's not like when they announced, say, Pokemon X and Y, where I just lost my mind over it. So, interesting to see what happens. There might be further announcements at E3. At this point, Nintendo's saying they're going to have a 30-minute digital presentation, which is a lot shorter than previous years. They're not obviously having a full-blown E3 conference like they normally, or they have in years ago. They're sticking to the Nintendo Direct style presentations of the last few years, so it'll be interesting to see. So that's my thoughts on it all. We'll see what happens. So we might do some more of these videos. Also, make sure you tune in over the weekend and into next week. We are going to do quite a bit of coverage on E3, try and cover some of the major conferences, obviously Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, maybe EA, Ubisoft, you know, Bethesda, and any other news we think. If there's any games that just suddenly release, which is not unheard of, we might do that. So also follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, make sure you subscribe to our videos if you want to keep up with what's happening. Leave a comment, like this video or don't like this video, I don't know. And if you've got any feedback, by all means, you know, contact us. We'd love to hear from you. And so thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.